on the
Hi.
call?
Janelle's right here,
Oh,
actually.
okay. Hi,
I tried
Janelle.
to set up two
Hey.
separate computers, but here, you can scoot
Okay, I don't need to be a part of
in.
it.
So I think, oh wow. Okay, great.
There we go.
So I think part of, so hi Bland, welcome to
Hi.
this project we've been working on. It's been fun. So tell us maybe a little bit about what you're doing in the project.
So my role in the project was from the very start. Karen invited me in from my experience doing large-scale installations at Burning Man, and the way I approached those was essentially borrowing materials and returning them in their original conditions to create cost-effective projects. And when she began describing the kind of um, schematic and plan for what she was trying to achieve in terms of inviting artists and having them create experiential environments for um, an event that merges performance and art installations, I think this idea of trying to reimagine everything that she owns in her warehouses really came to light as a interesting and exciting way to involve artists in the production of space.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And have you
Yeah,
ever done anything with live performance involvement before?
not live performance. I've done projects with site-specific dance that is incorporated into it. Um, Nothing where it's like everyone's working in parallel at the same time. It's more like, here's a project, maybe you guys can reinterpret it. So this is definitely exciting to see how the two are going to work in parallel, and it's wonderful to work with people that are comfortable with ambiguity.
Well, I come from a background of a fair amount of devised work, which is like where you have a theme or an idea and then you create a performance piece out of it.
Hmm.
So I find that we've scripted parts of this, and then a lot of this we're kind of devising over these 2 weeks. And I think that helps the ambiguity because then we can all kind of meet next week, and it'll probably be mashed potatoes for a couple of days, and then it'll kind of crisp up, and we'll know what we're dealing with. Um,
Yeah,
but but uh, but yeah, I mean, I've never worked this way. Usually, even on a devised piece, usually there's a set designer that's creating a specific environment.
hmm,
Um, so this is kind of a little wacky in some ways, I believe, but in a really really wonderful way.
in the same line of thinking where we're bringing artists in to reinterpret materials from the Festevents warehouse, it's also a nice kind of parallel with the performance. It's that we're creating these environments and thinking up these ideas, and then a lot of it is the performer's response to these environments. So it's everything's kind of building on itself. And I think that's a nice parallel.
Absolutely. We've kind of spent time talking about what the physical world is, like how these people move, or these fairies move, or these characters move in the space, and that way, once we move into the park, they kind of have the autonomy and the power to finish out. We're going to start some storylines that they're creating, and then they can kind of figure out where those go exactly. Um,
Yeah.
I know in Charlie's Fairy Fort, there's some really specific kind of environments he has in mind, um, and how we'll use those. And I think what Bland's creating, sorry, you're Bland. What Blair is creating is kind of a cool space for a cool music installation, which is what we're putting in there with carousels. So I think just figuring it's going to be an exciting 2 weeks. Um, there's something, at the stage company we start like 6-8 months in advance deciding, making all these production decisions based on an extant script, and to kind of have 2 weeks to create, woo, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's an intensive, and I think, you know, it's that ability to deal with ambiguity and be adaptable.
Right.
And I think what you're talking about in terms of developing a language of movement so that the actors can feel empowered within that space and know what they're doing, but you know, within a specific language and framework, that's a pretty ideal way to move forward.
That's cool. Well, I'm excited about the whole thing. Anything else that you see as a challenge or an exciting opportunity for you personally within this? Like what excites you, or kind of what problems are you getting to work on that are new?
I think knitting together different installations is going to be a challenge that's definitely worth worth consideration, and that's coming to light more and more. I think an opportunity. I'm very interested in light and how it's used as a conceptual and artistic medium, and I haven't truly investigated it through a performance lens, but I know
Right.
that lends so much credibility and kind of mysteriousness in the world of theater and performance. So I think that's one of the things that I'm really excited about is seeing how lighting impacts this whole space and environment that we're creating.
And
Um,
how are you planning on using lighting in your installation? What are you calling it? Like a mountainscape?
yeah, it keeps on changing names.
That's
I'm
okay.
trying to find the right name, and it honestly, if there's some sort of parallel with um, Moon Take the Flight or some feature in there, that's really where I'm trying to find a parallel again. Um, it's James brought to the table the notion that he was really interested in. I can't remember, maybe it was in Tennessee or something like that, where apparently all of the fireflies will like turn on or like blink in unison.
Cool.
So we're trying to figure out how you might achieve that type of lighting effect where um, the structure itself might just poof, like quickly light up and diminish as if it was a bunch of fireflies. Um, and that might be, we talked about various ways of achieving that and making it potentially interactive, i.e., someone with a switch that they can just turn it on and off if someone touches the structure. It'd be kind of one of those fascinating features. So that's how we're looking at lighting as more of a sporadic or kind of flash event. So it's not, you know, impacting the thing the whole time.
That's cool.
Um, yeah.
One thing that Grace is exploring with costumes, we were a little worried about these fairy creatures disappearing in the dark if there are areas of the park that are darker. And so she's working on making these glass jars, and if everything comes together, but some glass jars that have uh, like a glow in the dark. It almost looks like there's something trapped inside of it that,
Mm,
that these people can carry or that they can wear around their necks. But that also kind of plays with that firefly kind of moonlight kind of thing. So,
definitely. I do have a bunch of like vivid blue phosphorescent material.
oh, cool.
So like maybe you have to charge it up.
Sure.
But like if they went through a secret door and charged up their lantern
Right.
light, and then we're walking around, it's this pretty mysterious blue color.
That's cool. Well, I'll
Maybe I'll-
pass that on. I know she's playing with some sort of blending glow in the dark paint with something else that keeps it from ever solidifying.
Okay.
But you charge it in a similar way.
Okay. Yeah. This might. Cool. If she likes the
Hey,
idea, let her know I have a bunch of it.
okay, I will absolutely. Blue is cool, and
Yeah.
there could be different. They don't all have to be alike. We've talked about that too.
True. True. And how about you, Patrick? What's the biggest challenge and opportunity and from your perspective?
Well, the weird thing about live theater is it's live. So once it's going, it's just going. So we've gotten used to in the last couple hundred years that we've been inside of theaters, we've gotten used to getting as much control over lighting and design elements as possible. And there's something really kind of beautiful so oftentimes, I guess, we come into the live performance part, and this frame is so static, and it's often a very beautiful frame, but there's no room for changing because you've already made these big decisions that took electricians days to build, or took tailors weeks to build costumes, and so there's no adjustment on the fly, or there is adjustment, but it's very finite within this bigger picture. So to be able to work on something where we're kind of all in the same place at the same time, and then it finally, hopefully by Thursday and early Friday converges and comes to this thing that's, I think it's more dynamic. I think it makes the setting more dynamic. I think it makes the actors more dynamic. There's just this kind of spontaneity that I think is easy to lose sometimes in a traditional theater process.
Yeah.
And I also, my MFA is in acting, not in directing. So there's something really fun about empowering these actors to create stuff, and then to improv through it with the audience on the fly is just part of what's going on here. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that, in a traditional space, there's this, imaginary fourth wall that, or even if you do interact with the audience, it's very specific and limited. And there's something about the immersive quality and exploring that a little bit more that really pushes my buttons.
I'm excited. That puts a whole new, interesting perspective on everything.
Yeah.
And I love that empowering actors component, because that's like, when they're in the moment, it's going to be fascinating, because the X factor here is the audience and how they react, and that's
Great.
often what times makes Sleep No More such a fascinating experience, when someone breaks that boundary and they're like, I'm going to reach out and touch you.
Right. And that's what, we're talking about, or what are the intimate, smaller experiences versus what are the almost flash mob kind of experiences versus what are the more traditional presentational experiences that do put sort of a line between the actor and the audience. And then how do you teach the people coming into the park? Sleep No More has this lovely frame of the hotel that they really do orient you to how everything's going to work. So how do we teach this audience? What do they have permission to explore with the installations, with the actors? How do you prep them for that when they arrive? And I think that's a huge challenge too, that we're just now figuring out what it is, so now we can go back and figure out how to prep the audience. That's kind of fun.
Did we settle on some sort of paper element that they might have as a map, or be able to?
We talked about it, and I know somebody mentioned somebody that might be able to draw a map, like to do it on the fly that week. And I think if we could do that, I think that's a nice thing. Even if it was, handed out, but also just kind of posted places would be amazing too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. I've put it on the list to remember once again.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing. We have some interactive things where people are handing out little things, but they're not like a full-on map. So I think for people who work more linearly and don't know how to, maybe don't feel comfortable relaxing into this environment we're creating, something like that is really, it's a good safety blanket, I know when I go to Busch Gardens, my map's in my hand the whole time because I need that, So I can tell people, I don't want to miss anything.
That's true. But that's also between, behind the scenes, that's what we're trying to achieve, is that feeling that you might have missed something and you have to come back the next day and, oh my gosh, what's this other route that I could take?
Right. And I think the more that happens, the more people kind of relax into, unlike Sleep No More, which you're always kind of like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Sometimes in a, not quite a haunted house sort of way, but it is a little, you're always kind of on high alert. I'm hoping we can build some relaxation and just ability to experience Norfolk's Park, Town Point
Mhm.
Park, and the river, and to see it in a different way.
Yeah,
Uh, so that'll be cool.
it's gonna be we're on the bottom of an exponential curve of interestingness, and we're rising quickly.
Yes, yes. Well, this has been good, Bland. Thank you for spending time.
Yeah.
Definitely. Are we gonna just shoot this off into the YouTube universe right now?
It will post on my channel. I might like capture it and then edit it down or something. Um,
And it'll probably end up being like a printed
and she's
something.
probably going to use some of these ideas and write a printed something with language.
Mhm.
Cool.
Which will probably be the lead thing, actually. Yeah. And then, we probably put a little clip to something as well.
Awesome. Janelle, is there any other questions that would help you?
I don't know. Probably not. I think we're good. I think we have some good info to use to make it exciting. I want to be
Great. Yeah. Probably.
I'm hoping by Saturday I can actually be there without like my brain exploding. So
yeah.
it'll be nice. All right. Well, thank you,
Awesome.
Blair. Have a good
Yeah.
afternoon, and we'll talk to you Friday, I guess.
Yep. Friday it is.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.